It's the Lord's passion to make disciples of the nations and His commission and command to do so that made me move to New York City 20 years ago. In fact, I still remember the place at a rundown church in Brooklyn. I was sitting there and really thinking about the need to make disciples of the nations and the overwhelming sense of an inadequacy and inability to do so, but the command. And the Lord had me open up the Bible to Psalm 67. Just open it up there in prayer. And it says, God be gracious to us and bless us and cause His face to shine upon us, that your way may be known on the earth, your salvation among all the nations. Right? How would all the nations know God's salvation? That word, grace, be gracious to us. And so as we move to this spot, we named the church Grace Baptist Church, sensing a great need for God's grace. And joy it has been over the last 16 years to watch Him do just that, to build by His grace people from all over the world, making disciples of the nations. And they've come and they've gone elsewhere all over the world. Disciples makers making disciples. He has grown His church, but He's brought us to another place where we really sense a need for His grace. So let me introduce you to 1,000 Measures of Grace. This spot really needs a Bible-driven church with its own pulpit, right? A gospel-preaching pulpit. There's 200,000 people in this area. No Bible-driven church has its own building. And so it's been our burden for the last 16 years to be able to purchase. God has opened a great opportunity recently that one of the buildings, the church buildings in our neighborhood, wants to sell their building to us. That too is God's amazing grace. But it's going to cost many measures of grace, God's grace. We're needing 1,000 churches or individuals to give $3,000 to make up what's needed. Actually, the Lord's already brought in $480,000, and we still need some. We need grace upon grace. Would you consider being a part of that? You say, I can't give $3,000. Well, maybe you can give $3. Maybe you can give $330, whatever you can give. Be a part of this 1,000 measures of grace, $3,000, 1,000 times, to allow us to, by God's grace, purchase this building that will be a lighthouse to house the light of the gospel for generations to come. I love how the Lord uses tangible things to demonstrate His glory, right? He loves using the little lad's lunch to feed the thousands. He loves using the boy's sling to slay the giant Goliath. He loves to use the tiny gnats and frogs to spoil the Egyptians and demonstrate His glory, His power, His grace. And so let us pray. Would you join me in praying that God does this here? And would you give? Would you give? Would you help? Each little part is part of God's grace in making up the whole, so that God would be gracious to us, that His way would be known on the earth, and His salvation among the nations.